Hey everyone, welcome back. Johnny B here with devslopes.com, and the time is now. We are finally going to actually do something chat related. We are going to pull down the chat channels in this lesson, all right? Or at least we're going to create the function that does that. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. What we're going to do is we're going to create a new service called our message service. And this is the service that's going to be responsible for storing our messages and channels, and also the functions that will retrieve messages and channels, as well as some other utilities that we'll be needing for it. All right, so let's get started. I'm going to come over here to services, right click and say new file. This is going to be a Swift file, and say next, and we're going to call this message service. I'm going to create that. And then, just like our other services, this is going to be a class called message service. Like our other services, this is also going to be a singleton. So I'm going to say static let instance equal message service. Instantiate that. And so what are we going to put in here? Well, we're going to have a whole bunch of channels stored in here, as well as the messages for whichever channel is selected. So first we're going to need a couple of models, right? So let's go ahead and create those. All right, so I'm going to say new file, and this is a Swift file. I'm going to say next, and this is going to be a model called channel, and I'm going to create it. And let's go ahead and take a peek at Postman and see what kind of stuff is returned from a channel. All right, so this is the function, or the API endpoint, find all channels. It's at v1/channel, and that just returns all of the channels that we get. It's a get request. And so we can see here we have an array of objects, of JSON objects. So we have one channel here and another channel here. The first one is called general, and it doesn't have a description. The second channel is called description, or I'm sorry, the second channel is called random, and its description is this is the random channel. Okay, so anyways, so these are the properties of a channel that we're going to be working with. We're going to want to have the ID, name, and description. All right, so let's create a model on that. And this is going to be a struct. So I'm going to say struct. This is going to be called channel. And like I said, the properties that we want are going to be public, private, set, var, channel, title. And that's going to be of type string. Then we're going to have public, private, set. Whoops. This is var called channel description. That's also going to be a string. And lastly, just going to copy this again so I don't have to write that out. Copy and paste. And this is going to be ID. All right. So a very simple model for us. So that'll be nice. I'm going to save that. And then we can jump back into our message service and say var channels is equal to an array of channel objects. I'm going to instantiate that right there. And yeah, so now we have a place to store our channels. Now we need a function to actually retrieve those. All right, and so this is the Postman API call, and so this is what we get when we return it. What else do we need? We need an authorization header, and we need our URL. So it's just the base URL plus /channel. All right, so let's go ahead and create our URL for that. So I'm going to come over to utilities here, go to constants. Let's create our new URL. I'm going to say let URL underscore get underscore channels is equal to the string interpolation of the base URL, and then just channel, and that'll do it. All right, so I'm going to save that, copy the URL constant, and jump back into our message service. All right, so now we are ready to create our function that is going to have our web request and go hit our API and bring back all of our channels for us. All right, so I'm going to say func find all channel. Okay, and this is just a get request, so we don't have to actually pass anything in the body or anything, so we don't need anything to pass in. So all we need is our completion handler. So I'm going to say at escaping completion handler. Okay, so now let's go ahead and create our Alamo Fire request. So I'm going to say Alamo Fire dot request, and we need to actually import those, of course. I'm going to say import Alamo Fire and import Swifty JSON. There we go. So now we got it. Alamo Fire request. And there we go. And the URL that we want to hit is URL underscore get channels. The method is .get. The parameters are nil. The encoding is of type, whoops, JSON, what is it? JSON encoding .default. And the headers is, we do need a bearer header, so I'm gonna write bearer header. And the response that we want it to be in the form of JSON, so response JSON, and press return, and then return again, and then renaming the data response to response, and then just deleting that placeholder text. All right, so we've pinged the API, we've sent it the information that we want, and now we're gonna receive it back. And so just like we've done in the past, we're gonna say if response.result.error is equal to nil, then we're going to do something with it. Else, we're going to say completion is false, and we're going to debug the print. We're going to debug print the problem. So we're going to say response.result.error as any. Okay, so that'll just print out the response. If we were successful, then what are we going to do? Well, we're going to do like we've done in the past. We're going to parse out the JSON. All right, so we're going to create a JSON object out of the data. So first off, let's get the data. So we're going to say guard let data equal response.result. Oh, I'm sorry, just response.data. There we go. Else return. So now we're going to turn that data into some sort of JSON. But coming back here to Postman, we see that this is actually an array. So we want to turn our JSON into an array object. So using Swifty JSON, that's super easy. We just say if let JSON is equal to JSON, and then we're going to say data. We're going to pass in the data, and then we're going to say dot array. Okay. And so that gives us an array of JSON objects. And now we can say for item in JSON, so we're going to loop through each item in the JSON array, and we're going to say, now we're going to parse out the actual individual properties of the channel. Okay, so we're going to say let name equal, and that's going to be item, and drill into it, look for the key of name, and cast that as a string value. Then we're going to say let channel description equal item, and we're going to search for the key of description, and that's going to be cast to a string value. Then we're going to say let ID equal item, and we're going to drill into it and search for the key of underscore ID dot string value. And if you're curious where I'm getting these, again, just from right here. So this is the JSON response, and so these are the keys that we need to be looking for. All right, and then with these three variables, we can now instantiate and create a new channel object. Okay, so we're going to say let channel equal, and then using the default struct initializer, we can just say channel title is equal to name channel description is equal to channel description, and the ID is equal to the ID. Okay, so each time we loop through one of the items in the JSON array, we're going to extract the properties that we need, and then we're going to initialize a new channel object from the struct initializer, and then we're going to add this new channel to our channels array that we store inside of our message service. So we're going to say self.channels.append, and the new element is this new channel here. So that's how we loop through those JSON objects and add them to our channels array right here. And that's it. We can say completion is true right here. Okay. So that's how we've been doing JSON parsing up till now, right? And I like doing it this way, but in Swift 4, there's a new way, and it's really nice in some ways. So I definitely want to show you that. We're probably going to continue doing it this way. You can make the choice yourself going forward which way you want to do it. But the new way is they have new decodable protocols, and it's super nice. So I'm going to show you how to do that. So what we're going to do is I'm going to go ahead and just comment out right here. And to make it work, what we have to do is we have to make our channel conform to the decodable protocol, okay? And then the other thing that we have to do, and this is the reason that I kind of don't like it, is we have to make our, let me see if I can just find a way to make this be visible while we still see, is we have to make our model mirror exactly what we see in the JSON response. Okay, so I'm just gonna put this over here on my other window. So these names have to be the same, so and in the same order. So this needs to be underscore ID. This needs to be name. This needs to be description. Is that right? Description. And then the other thing that I don't really like is that you have to have everything. So before we were just ignoring this underscore v. I'm not really sure what it is, some sort of Mongo database identifier or something. But because it's in the JSON, we also have to have it here in our model. So I'm going to go ahead and add that, just say control copy and paste. And so then what you can do is, oops, this should be underscore v. All right, so then what we can do is we can come back into message service, and we can actually do the parsing in practically one line. And so that's what's really nice about it. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna do, say, a do. And the reason we have to have a do and catch block is because we're gonna be using the JSON decoder, which can throw an error. So we're gonna say self.channels is equal to try, and so when you have a do, you need to try JSON decoder dot decode, and so that's the one we want, and the type is so we're going to say the type is channel. So we made it an array because we know that it's an array, so channel.self, and then you just pass in the data right here. And that is all of the JSON parsing that you need. It kind of just takes your channel model and it just crams everything that comes from the JSON. It decodes it and stuffs it right into whatever variables you have in the message service or in your channel model, as long as it matches correctly. And then, like I said, because this is a try, it has the potential to throw an error, so we need to handle that. So I'm going to say here, catch, let error, and then we're just going to debug, print that error, okay, as any. And yeah, so that's it. That's all you got to do. So let's go ahead and test this. So here under it, I'm going to say print, and then I'm going to say self.channels. I'm going to save it, and let's run this from, let's just put it in the chat VC view did load. Okay, so I'm going to say message service dot instance. Oh, you know what? Actually, we're going to need to. I think we have a logged in user, so I'm not going to be super careful here. Message service dot instance dot find all channel and say success. And we're not really doing anything with it, so I'm just going to run it. Oh, we got an error here. Says expected to decode a string but found a number instead. And that's my bad. Here in the channel model, if we look at postman, this property here is actually a number. So let's instead cast that to an int. And if you make it optional with this decodable, if it's not there, then it just puts nil in there. So I don't know if that property is always going to be there, so I'm going to make that an int, or I mean an optional. All right, and here we go. So we can see here, yeah, we can see some of the properties that we would expect in the channel: name, general, description, welcome to the water cooler. Yeah, so it is printing out the channel information. So yeah, that parsing is working. And so it's kind of just up to you how you want to do it. So like I said, the drawbacks for me are that you have to have everything in the model, and you have to have the naming convention the same as what the JSON returns. But yeah, I mean, this is super nice, being able to just do that one line of code instead of having to parse through lots of different properties and stuff. But still, in the end, I actually prefer the old way, just because I can ignore some things in the model. So I'm just going to Command Z here in the channel all the way back to how we had it with our naming convention, and also being able to ignore properties in the JSON that we just don't really care about. So I'm going to save that and then come back to our message service. And here I am going to go ahead and Command Z all the way back as well. But yeah, like I said, I just wanted to show you that because, you know, this is a course on Swift 4. It is new, so you guys definitely deserve to learn about it. Just personally, I still prefer doing it this way, and I feel like it just gives me more control over what my models look like, and also, you know, not being forced to use everything that the JSON spits back at us. But yeah, so up to you. But once again here, let's go ahead and let's make sure it's working with this way as well. So I'm going to print out the let's say self.channels, and then I'll pick the I'll access the 0th item and say dot channel title. All right, and let's do that. All right, and we're loaded, and sure enough, there we go. General is the name of the first channel. All right, so how are we doing on time? Looks like we're out of time here, but there you go. We have created the function to hit our API and bring back to us all of the channels that are currently on the API. All right, so in the next lessons, we're actually going to do something with this data. We're going to work in our table view inside of the channel VC, and we're going to start make it so that we can actually visualize the channel data there. All right, so that's about it for now. I'm going to go ahead and finish off by adding the progress that we have made and committing it, and I will see you in the next one.